am a human rights lawyer. I care passionately about what I do. I've been incredibly lucky. My 24-year-long career has taken me to Japan, Thailand, Armenia, Russia, Ukraine, with Penal Reform International, the UN, the Council of Europe, and the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office. I knew from my early days, as a volunteer at a prison creche while studying law at university, that a career in human rights and of service was where my heart lay. This experience had a profound impact upon me. In fact, dignity behind bars remains a constant theme in my own human rights practice to this day. The shiny corporate world of the suited and booted held no allure for me. In terms of my career plan, I knew the what, but had to figure out the how. To be a change maker, I studied law, got a master's degree in human rights and civil liberties, and qualified as a lawyer. As I think back, a couple of moments stand out. Like the time I was in Gračanica, a Serb enclave in Kosovo, standing among bombed-out homes pockmarked and riddled by Albanian snipers. As a minority rights officer with the UN, I was there to celebrate a wine harvest with the local community. I spoke to one of the residents about his life there. He told me that he had no freedom of movement, nor any electricity, and that he had to be escorted to and from work by the UN Kosovo force. The Serb enclave was guarded by the UN, a constant reminder that the residents and its community were at risk and that a fragile peace hung heavy in the air. Like the time a dual British-Algerian national returned to Algeria on political grounds and died on hunger strike whilst under my watch as a human rights advisor to the UK Foreign Office. This case remains etched in my mind. Was there more I could or should have done to save his life? Like the time I represented asylum seekers and migrants before the immigration courts here in London for a large national charity. As their advocate, a heavy responsibility lay on my shoulders to secure my clients' refugee status. For many, it was a matter of life or death. You see, this work lingers. It takes its toll. It comes at a cost, no matter how passionate you are about this work. Today, I want to tell you how you need to be properly selfish to be a great human rights activist. I first learned about the concept of proper selfishness in a talk given by the now British High Commissioner to New Zealand, Laura Clark. Laura's request to not neglect proper selfishness resonated with me. I started to think, when is it okay to be selfish? When is it okay to say, I can't save everyone? When is it okay to say, I can't be everything to everyone? It is not an easy conversation to have with yourself. This work is not for everyone. It takes stamina and strength, both physical and mental. This work is deeply painful and confronting. We bear witness to harrowing testimonies we'd rather not hear. Torture, sexual violence, female genital mutilation. I have heard them all. But we owe it to the survivors to document, to report, and to ultimately hold those responsible to account. We amplify the cracked and broken voices and offer to narrate for them. Those of us involved in the good fight know that we too are at risk. I have seen many of my peers working well into the night and at the weekends to stop the imminent deportation of a vulnerable asylum seeker. We will do whatever it takes. But you see, self-sacrifice and heroism are badges of honour in our sector, and to many simply go with the territory. Yet we work in some of the most difficult and hostile locations around the world, and we do not always work in the most supportive and giving of environments. As human rights professionals, we are at risk of succumbing to vicarious trauma, compassion fatigue, or at its extremities burnout, given the emotional labour that we invest in our work, not least human rights lawyers. But there is a growing body of academic evidence documenting these issues among my peers. The conversation has started. Like research undertaken by the Resilience Project in 2015, which documented among 346 human rights activists that 19.4% of them met the criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. These figures speak for themselves. As human rights professionals, we are regularly exposed to the trauma of others and are personally affected by this trauma. We are like sponges. We listen and absorb, and we put ourselves in the survivor's shoes. I know all too well. The symptoms of vicarious trauma are both physical, panic attacks, nightmares, intrusive thoughts, and psychological, loss of concentration, negative thinking, emotional numbing. If left unchecked, it can affect our work, our physical and mental health. Or we may find that we simply care less. I felt close to those moments when I could no longer give anything to my clients. The concept of compassion fatigue finds its roots in the healthcare sector and was coined by Carla Joynson when she noticed that nurses had simply lost their ability to nurture. We are effectively running on empty. The symptoms of compassion fatigue may manifest themselves in different ways: an inability to empathise with another's suffering, isolation, feeling physically tired, and concentration difficulties. Sadly, the pains of passion become our own internal pain and simply too much to bear. In some cases, it may be debilitating and we may burn out. Burnout is of a different order and should not be mistaken with compassion fatigue. The World Health Organization classifies it as a syndrome and links it to chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. We may become negative or cynical about our jobs. We may start to feel exhausted, anxious, and of low mood. But it need not be this way. We need to take good care of ourselves if we are to care for others. I am not here to espouse values of self-care. It is firmly rooted in our psyche and needs no further embellishment from me. At its heart, proper selfishness is an invitation. It is an invitation to look beyond classic self-interest, to take a step back, to restore and replenish, so that you can be a better asset to the world and use that selfishness for the greater good. It is not saying not to care or to abandon your ideals. How do we practice proper selfishness? I offer no quick fixes or magic potions. You will go on your own personal journey to find what works for you. For me, my proper selfishness lies in building networks with friends and family, keeping body, heart and soul in check, seeking help. For me, talking to a counsellor at the Foreign Office was my saving grace, and going to feed squirrels in the park with a friend, and I am not a big animal lover. When we practice proper selfishness, it is a win-win. We have passion, we are of use, we have energy, and those we help get the best of us. This sector has seen too many embattled soldiers leave and walk away. This work has not broken me, but I got close, nor am I, in the words of Carl Jung, a wounded healer. I remain guided and optimistic, and guided by my North Star that we can and do make a difference to those we help. Would I or could I do another line of work? I think about this deeply when I am mentally exhausted or physically drained by my work. I think that the answer has to be a resounding no. The desire to help is too big to ignore. To those looking to forge a career in human rights, I urge you to do so with full heart, but in a safe and responsible way. Safe spaces are opening up to talk about this work and find support. I urge you to find them. Proper selfishness offers riches to us all, not just human rights lawyers. In a time of everyday activism, it is of particular resonance. I think about my visit to Tojigi Women's Prison in Tokyo in 2016. I met a woman detained there on drugs charges in a small, windowless visiting room. She was frail, in a wheelchair, and was suffering from early onset dementia. As her human rights advisor, I was there to ensure that her human rights were being respected. You see, the privations and challenges of life in a Japanese prison cannot be underestimated. I lobbied the Japanese authorities to ensure that she had adequate health care and could attend Japanese language classes. Her life was a bit better for my intervention, but I could not have done this had I not practiced my own proper selfishness.